recently finished reading a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. You may have heard of it. It's been, bestseller list for probably a year now, and I loved it. I think it's one of those books that should just be required reading for your junior year in high school, let's say. There's just a lot. There's so much to take from it that can help you in life and help you optimize everything that you're doing and things that you want to do, take steps to get to places that you want to be. It just seems like you can get more out of it than To Kill a Mockingbird, let's say, with all due respect to Atticus Finch. I just think people should read books like this. I don't know why, and I'm not trying to take this to the education system here, but it's just one of those books that everyone should read. So first recommendation is just go and read it. And the main point in the book and big takeaway is that we are our habits, good and bad, essentially, right? Like the little things that we do consistently are what make up you add them all together and you get the individual. And that seems pretty important to me, right? Something that we should be focused on, about what are the good habits in our lives, what are the bad habits in our lives. Naval Ravikant, maybe the smartest person I've ever heard speak. He is big on habits too. I remember him saying, I think it's every 6 months or so, he tries to remove one bad habit from his life and start one positive habit. And over time, it compounds and your shit works pretty well if you get more good habits than bad and keep adding the good ones and getting rid of the bad ones. It just makes sense. And the habits don't need to be these massive things, right? You can start small and those lead to bigger ones. An example in the book is if you want to start running, right? You want to be a runner and you want to run 3 or 4 days a week first thing in the morning when you wake up. The habit isn't, all right, I'm going to start running. The habit is a lot more actionable and specific in, for example, on those 3 mornings that I want to run, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, after I brush my teeth, I put on my exercise shorts, and right after I put on exercise shorts, I put on my sneakers, my running sneakers. And then once your running sneakers are on, you're more than halfway there to being a runner. It sounds crazy, but that's how these things start, with that first simple step, those easier habits, and then that leads to the bigger habits. So what I thought I'd do today is, I'm a habit type of guy. I'm always looking for new habits. I'm trying shit all the time. So I'm going to share the habits that I'm currently rocking these days. The good ones, not the bad ones. And non-parenting. I'm not going to go down the dad life hole here because there are a lot of habits that I do as a father and do with my kids or for my kids or whatever. We can save that for another episode. Maybe my friend Dad the Best I can ask me that when he has me on his podcast. We can do the dad life thing there. Anyhow, I get many of my habits from other people, from friends, from podcasts, from books, and I thought, by sharing some of mine, most of mine, I'm sure I'll forget some here or there, then maybe you guys can pick 1 or 2 up for yourselves and give them a shot. It can't hurt, right? I think we can do anything for a short amount of time. So if something jumps out at you here and says, oh, that's interesting, try it for a week, try it for 10 days, and then some stick, some don't, and you kind of take it from there. And, while I have a bunch that I'm going to talk about right now, I'm great with some, I'm decent with others, and I'm not amazingly consistent, right? Sometimes I'm in a zone for months where I'm knocking out most of these on a regular basis, and other times I am in a shitty place, and maybe that's because something else is going on in my life, and I'm you know what? fuck this habit today. I don't want to do it. And that's okay too, as long as you just get back on the horse. For the most part, these are things that I try to do on a daily basis, and I do many of them daily. And like I said, others not daily, and sometimes I can go a month without meditating, for example. So don't get discouraged if you try one of these things and you miss a day or two, or you have habits in your life that you don't do often enough. Like, just either keep plugging away, get back to it, or decide, you know what, maybe the reason I'm not doing it is that this habit isn't for me and I should move on and try something else. Anyhow, let's go. So on the daily, I use an app called Sleep Cycle to wake me up in the morning when I want to get up before my kids. Otherwise, I have the built-in alarm with my 2 sons. But if I want to get up before them, if I'm going to an early workout class or I want to get to the gym early, I use an app called Sleep Cycle, which when you set it, it monitors your sleep. You have it under your, in between your sheet and your mattress. And it monitors your sleep. And if I set it for 5:45 a.m., let's say, it will wake me up anytime between 5:15 and 5:45 based on my REM cycle. They want to wake you up at the optimal time, so you're not, just alarmed by your alarm and wake up in a state of frenzy, which a lot of people do. There's like optimal ways to wake up, so they choose the best time to get you going there. In conjunction with that, I also happen to wear something called the Oura Ring, which, if you're watching on video right now, there it is on my middle finger. And the Oura Ring is also tracking my sleep habits and my heart rate variability, and it also tracks my daily activity, and based on sleep and activity, it then forecasts my readiness each day, like what days I should go harder than others, what days I should take it back because I didn't have good sleep or I didn't recover. So I have that kind of working while I'm sleeping as well. Never, ever, ever look at my phone when I wake up. Let me just clarify. I look at the sleep app that just woke me up, or my Oura Ring, to see how I'm feeling that day. Or on my walk to the gym, I will put on a podcast, for example, but never will look at emails, social media, Twitter, text messages. Not that I get many during the night, but I don't want inputs in the morning. I want to do what I came to do, whatever that is. Whatever your morning habit, morning routine is, you want to do that and not think about other stuff or have other stuff potentially derail that. So I know this is a hard one. It seems probably crazy to a lot of you, but I never look at my phone until, if I'm working out, then till after I get home from my workout. It could be 8, 9 o'clock. It could be whatever it is. It's just, for a long time, don't look at your phone. You don't want stuff getting into your brain and clogging up what you want to do first thing in the morning. If I'm going to the gym in the morning, whether that's going to be in the pool or I'm going to a class or whatever, I leave my clothes out or my gym bag packed the night before. I want to, and you want to too as well, have as little to think about first thing in the morning as possible. You want to be like a robot, right? We have only so many decision units in a day. You don't want to wake up and start thinking about what you want to wear. You want to get up, put on your clothes, go to the bathroom, do what you do there, get out, work out, eat something, put on your shoes, meditate, whatever it may be, without thinking about everything. It should just be automatic. So leave out your clothes the night before. Meditation. I'm doing a pretty good job right now with my meditation practice. I've switched recently from guided to unguided. I used to use the app Calm. Now I just sit in silence and time it either with the Oura app, which I talked about in my ring, or just a silent meditation with my timer. I think, again, to refer back to Naval, I think it was he who said that, essentially guided meditation isn't really meditation. Like, meditation is all about the silence. So I do that first thing in the morning. If I don't do it first thing in the morning, there's a good chance that I don't get to it. So that's why I very often set my alarm early to try to beat my kids up, not physically, to become awake before they rise, and go upstairs, do my meditation, and try to get out the door to the gym. Exercise, obviously, a big one. I'm sure many of us have some type of exercise habit or practice. I like to switch mine up a couple times throughout the year. Right now I'm on a yoga kick, specifically hot yoga. I don't know, I'm just feeling good about it, and I kind of alternate that with swim. I'm back in the pool since my triathlon. I kind of took a few months off from swimming, so I'm in a yoga/swim thing right now, but what it is not important. It's just the idea that you're going to do it 4, 5, 6 days a week, whatever works for you. Just kind of set it up in advance, and just, if you say you're going to do it, just do it. Sauna. I'm big on extreme heat and extreme cold. We'll get to the cold in a second. I have a sauna at my gym where I go swimming. So on the days that I go swimming, I always go in the sauna first for 15, 20 minutes. On days that I'm not swimming, I may go for a half hour. Now that I'm doing hot yoga on the other days, 3 or 4 times a week, I don't need to do the sauna as much because I'm getting similar effects of the heat there. But if you have access, I know it's not that easy. Sauna is highly recommended 3 days a week, 4 days a week, whatever you can do, but it's great for you. Extreme heat, extreme cold. I don't want to get into the science with that. I've spoken about both of those a number of times on this podcast, and you can look it up. So on the other end of the spectrum, cold showers. I did the Wim Hof method, this 10-week online course with the Iceman earlier this year. Was it this year even? Yeah, it was beginning of 2019. And every shower I've taken since has either been 100% cold or at least a third cold, and way more towards the former. Almost all of my showers are exclusively cold. I know this is like a big thing coming on these days. Jack Dorsey, for example, only takes cold showers now, and he just said, I think it was on either Joe Rogan or another podcast he was on a few months ago. He was doing some tour of podcasts, and he said just the ability for him, to just, without doing anything prior, to just step into a freezing cold shower just makes him feel like he can accomplish anything that day. I don't have that thought necessarily when I get into a shower, but cold benefits are endless. And just in the short term, walking out of a cold shower, you just feel alive. It's invigorating. I know it's scary as hell when you think about it. You're like, no fucking way. And the first time you do it, the first week you do it, the first 2 weeks you do it, it'll be hard. I'm not going to lie. But like anything else, you adapt. You get used to it. And I can't stress enough how great cold showers are for you, and ice baths and anything cold. Again, extremes. Freezing cold, super hot, ice bath, sauna, any way you can shock the body is probably pretty good for you long term. Intermittent fasting. Almost been a year now that I've been doing this, and I'm not crazy strict about it, but on most days, most weekdays for sure, my eating window, intermittent fasting is also referred to as time restricted eating, is 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., let's say, around the time my guys go to sleep. I'm pretty good at it. In the mornings, if I'm hungry, maybe I'll eat at 10:30. Like I don't care that much, and if I'm going out for dinner, then fuck it, it's out the window for that night. So I'm not crazy about it. But again, look it up. Many benefits for time restricted eating. Peter Attia, one of my go-to doctor sources, the doctor for Rick Rubin, for Tim Ferriss, for Kevin Rose, he says fasting is the number one tool we have in our nutritional toolbox. And I'll get to fasting a little bit deeper in a minute. So I've been doing that for almost a year now, and it's not that hard, guys. It's really not. I recommend thinking about that. And there are a number of ways to do time-restricted eating. Some people fast for 24 hours at a time. Some people fast for 3 days once a quarter. There are a number of protocols. I think the most common is similar to what I'm doing, a 16 off, 8 on type of setup. Something new that I'm trying to do, first thing in my body every day. For me, it's at 11 o'clock. For my boys and my wife, I'm trying to push it on them as well, has to be alive. Now, what do I mean by alive? Fruit, vegetable, something from the earth. So like even if my sons in the morning when they wake up way too fucking early, are going to have, if they want, I don't know, a yogurt, or they want an English muffin with peanut butter, let's say, something like that, they have to have a banana first, or a piece of an apple, or a couple berries, whatever it may be. They've been in a fasted state. I've been in a fasted state. So I want to start my day with a green smoothie. I just want something, it just makes sense. And shout out to Jesse Itzler for giving me this tip. Standing desk at my office. Again, I go in waves with this. I always have the standing desk in play, but very often I sit more than I'd like to. That's also partially from waking up so early to either work out or to get up with my kids. I'm tired during the day a lot, so I don't stand as much as I'd like to, but I think we should all be standing. If you're in an office space that your boss, or if you are the boss, doesn't have standing desks, I highly recommend getting those involved in your routine. Reading. I like to try to read every day, even if it's only for 10 minutes. Hopefully it's for a little more, 20, 30 minutes. And I usually try to do that while eating lunch at my desk in my office or while in the sauna. I know people have a hard time reading in the sauna. I don't. It kind of works for me. It actually passes the time pretty easy. If I'm going to be in there for a half hour, I'm not going to bring in, something that'll melt, like my phone or a podcast or whatever. So, reading a book is a good way to pass the time in there. Dot Today, as many of you know, another podcast that I do is called Dot Today, and it is daily. It is my daily audio log, which means I do it every freaking day, just like a diary, except I speak it. And I started this on January 1st, 2018, and have not missed a day since. So doing some quick math, that's probably, 650 days in a row, something like that, between 650 and 700 days in a row of doing this podcast. And, talk about a habit. That's a daily habit, and one that I literally have never missed since I started it. And I always refer back to Seth Godin, one of the true wizards of the digital world in my mind, who writes a blog every day. And he recommends the daily podcast, or daily anything really. But one of his things was, I don't have a blog because I have something to say. I have something to say because I have a blog. And what I think this habit does for me is it forces me to check in every day and think, hey, what's important to me today? What am I thinking about today? What's something shareable today that can maybe help someone, maybe entertain someone? And I record it for 5 minutes or less. I do it through a simple app called Anchor on my cell phone. And there are plenty of days where I'm like, I don't have anything I really want to talk about today. I don't want to do this, but yet I do it. It's just on my list every single day, and it always gets done. This year I started a new thing, and again, not been consistent with it, but phone off when I get home around 6 p.m., let's say, until the boys go to bed. So hanging out with them, dinner with them, books, shower, whatever it is, bedtime, that whole routine, I try to have my phone off and completely out of the picture. I don't think I need to explain why. I think we all know we all need a little, if not a lot, less screen time in our lives, and especially if you're a parent and want to be present with your kids as much as possible. I think that's a great thing to do. Like, I think we can all take some point of the day and say, you know what, for right now, no phones allowed. And if your kids are older and they have their own phones, same goes for them. Like, hey guys, we're having dinner now, we're having bedtime now, we're getting ready for school now, whatever it may be, no screens. Tea. Every night before bedtime, I drink tea. I've never been a coffee drinker. I've never had a cup of coffee actually in my life. I've never been into just caffeine. I try to stay away from drugs. Every night I have tea, and so it's always non-caffeinated. And right now I'm on a rooibos kick. That's red tea. Usually they're green, red. Like I said, always non-caffeinated. And I always sprinkle in a dash of turmeric. You can check out the benefits of turmeric, cancer killer. And why not? Just like throw a little spice in there. It doesn't really do much to the flavor. Turmeric is pretty bland. But I think it's doing something good in my body. And like I said, these habits compound. Like, so one dash of turmeric on a random Tuesday night is not going to do much for me, but every single night for 5 years, maybe I'm building up something inside me. You just got to kind of believe in the science in some of these things, because a lot of these habits are not visible. Like, the ROI is not instant. You're hoping that the science is accurate and your body responds to certain things. And over time, the sauna, the cold shower, whatever it may be, the eating fruit, the intermittent fasting, they all come together to, make you live forever. Flossing. I don't know what made me start doing this, but it's probably been almost a decade now. I floss every night, and I rarely miss a night. I don't know why. And now I've switched to, to save the world, save the earth and the planet, while I'm doing all these other things to try to save myself. Like, no more plastic floss, the wax floss. Now we're using, it feels like a rope. I'm not sure what it's made out of now that I think about it, but it, it's biodegradable and good for this planet of ours. When I go to sleep, airplane mode, obviously. I said that before, that's how it works, I think, with the Sleep Cycle app. Gotta have it in airplane mode. If you're sleeping next to your phone and it's buzzing at all during the night, let alone every time you get an email or a text message, that is insanity. I'll talk about notifications in a second. That's during the day. While you're awake and interrupting your sleep, it's even 10 times worse. So stop it. Shut your phone off or put it on airplane mode when you go to bed. And then another nighttime before bed habit is the index card. I like to write one thing on an index card that before I go to sleep for the next day. Like, one thing I want to do, accomplish, because then if I do that one thing, then I had a pretty decent day, right? It's no 0 days, as they say. You just want to make sure that you at least get the most important thing done. So if the night before I decide, you know what, I'm going to do this tomorrow, and if I have this long to-do list of things I want to do in the next quarter or the next month or whatever it is, if I can knock one of these things out or get started on one of these things tomorrow, then I know I've had a good day and I'm on the way. And ideally you do that thing in the morning, so then in the afternoon you can focus on the smaller things. It becomes a domino effect, force multiplier type of situation. So that kind of sums up any given day for me. There are a couple others that I wanted to talk about to carry over the airplane mode thing. Notifications, and I spoke about this recently on Dot Today. People who have notifications on, for me, I'll call it a habit because it's something that we should all be doing. No notifications that you don't proactively put into the world. Like, the only time my phone buzzes is from like a reminder that I set. Like, hey, it's whatever, 10:25 a.m. I get a reminder to do my Dot Today. Every single day I get that reminder, right? So then my phone says, hey, something pops up on my screen and I know I have to go do something. But the idea that some of you are getting buzzed anytime you get an email, anytime you get somebody, I don't even know what notifications are, but anytime somebody posts something on Instagram or Facebook or does a story on one of those platforms, not to mention, like, all the apps you sign up for, people actually choose, yes, please send me push notifications. It is mind-boggling that this is a thing, and it is something that has to stop. So one of my habits is no notifications, and it's not even like that's become so natural. I didn't even have to like fight that one. I was never on the other side of it. It's just always an automatic. Do you want notifications? No, never. The fasting mimicking diet. So I have a habit that every quarter I do a 5-day fast called the fasting mimicking diet. It's from a company called Prolon, Pro Longevity. You can check them out at prolonfmd.com, I believe. And I'm on a subscription where every 3 months they just send me a box, and in this box are 5 smaller boxes, and whatever's in that box is what I eat for that specific day. And it's again, on my YouTube channel I have a review of the first time I did this. I've probably now done it, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 quarters in a row. And like I said, what Peter Attia said, that fasting is the number one tool we have. And you know, the idea for me, again, it's believing in the science that fasting in this form, especially, you know, the intermittent fasting, not as much. This, when you do a 5-day fast, I think once you get past 3 days, science shows that you are basically, you know, there's cell regeneration going on. The weak cells are being eaten by the strong cells, getting out, and some of those weak cells could be a cancer cell, for example. And I want those motherfuckers out of my body now. So let's get those good cells kicking out the bad ones, destroying them, so I have more good shit going on, and that will make me live for eternity. Or until the planet blows up, either way. So highly recommend the quarterly fast. I know it sounds crazy, but 20 days of the year out of 365 for long-term health, what I think or believe is potentially a huge benefit in my quest for long-term health. Way worth it for me, and it allows me, like I said, it's the fasting mimicking diet, so I'm allowed to consume something. It's not much, but I can get to do something for those 5 days. And then the last one I want to talk about, again, another Jesse Itzler one, is put it on the calendar. And I want to get better at this. I want to get more regimented with it. You know, a big one from this year for me was triathlon. I put a triathlon on the calendar for June. That allowed me to train for it and accomplish this goal, and now I have it in my, you know, life resume. Trips, dinners with friends, physical accomplishments, work accomplishments, whatever it may be, whatever's important to you, map it out. Say in 2020, I want to do these 5 things. I want to go back to my alma mater and see a college basketball game. I want to bike a 100-mile race. I want to have a family reunion. Whatever it may be, schedule that shit. Because if you don't, it doesn't get done. Once you put it on the calendar and then tell people about it, more of a chance you actually do it. Anyhow, that's where we're at. That's what I'm thinking about these days. I'm sure I forgot some that I'm doing daily or, you know, a few times a year, whatever it may be, but I think that's a pretty decent overview of where I'm currently at. And what I would say to you guys is just like, if anything stood out where you were like, oh, raised an eyebrow, got a little light bulb, try it. Try shit. Bottom line, like, some will stick, others won't. Like I said in the beginning, you know, you can do anything for a week or 2 weeks. Give some of these things a shot. Maybe you'll, like, change your life. You know, some of these things, there are probably a number of other ones that I tried that didn't stick. Some of these things, like, I'm pretty confident I'll be doing for the next 40 years because they just work for me. They may not work for you, but something else might. So get to it. Let me know what you want to do, what you are doing. Share some of your habits with me. Maybe you know, teach me something that I can implement and give a try to on my own. You know, same goes, it works both ways. I'm always looking for new things to attempt. So let's get to it, guys. Thanks for listening.